Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Stephanie, and I am the executive assistant here at SmartSimple. Joining me today are my colleagues, Greg and Garrett. Before we dive into content today, two quick housekeeping items. First being that this is recorded, so you will have the opportunity to watch this presentation again, and you will receive a copy as well, since you did register. And second, we are asking if you can please use the Q&A feature below to pop all your questions in. We'll get to as many questions as we can, especially at the end. We should have some time as well. And with that, Greg, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Stephanie. Good morning, folks. Good afternoon. You're more than very welcome to join us for our second iteration of our SmartSimple Cloud plus AI webinar. I'm joined this morning by my colleague, Garrett Alford. Garrett, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, folks. I'm a Senior Platform Solutions Manager at SmartSimple, and I'll be showing you guys some of our recent use cases in Plus AI today. So nice to see you all today.
Great. Thanks, Garrett. So before we get the show on the road, folks, just a little recap of what we talked about in our previous presentation. So what we're looking at here is just how we actually handle the integration with AI services. So each SmartSimple Cloud instance on the left-hand side of your screen stores all of your data and controls all of the access to those materials. In front of that and between the instance and the AI integration server, we have the variable processor tool. And this is what actually allows us to take individual references and individual field values from records, translate them through to actual values that can be passed then through to either OpenAI, which we're going to be using this morning, or to an alternative AI service. So this is the real power of SmartSimple Cloud, taking variable references that have been defined globally and translating them into record-specific values on a case-by-case basis. Again, just a recap on what we looked at previously and some of the scenarios that we talked about. We looked at eligibility pre-screening, how we can handle initial reviews of applications, initial reviews of submissions, making sure that they meet some basic eligibility criteria and giving a positive or a negative response to those submissions. We also reviewed our supported application process, which allowed for a collaborative approach between the AI and an individual applicant so that they could essentially build out and brainstorm their application as they were proceeding as they were completing it. So they could take the general eligibility criteria that's been set at a programmatic level and build their application around that without modifying the underlying facts and targets and attributes of that grant application. We mentioned the dynamic language translation, something that we hope to be able to show a little bit later on. And that's just one of the functions that the AI can provide. Dynamic translations in context. We also talked about generating summaries, executive summaries, summaries of reviews, analyzing review forms and criteria as well to come up with common scores. And we talked about individualized correspondence and also analysis for impact. So we're going to go a little bit deeper today. We're not going to repeat what we did last time. We're going to look at some new scenarios and some new use cases. So what we're going to look at is that document generation. So we've simplified things a little bit. One of the more straightforward use cases is generating personalized documentation. So Garrett's going to take us through reviewing some award and declination letters and how they can change depending on the situation. We're also going to look at organizational coding and alignment. So generating some coding elements or attributes relevant to an individual organizational profile. We'll also look at panel, committee, and board material generation, how we can aggregate and review applications or submissions en masse to get a streamlined piece of content that can then be passed through to the panel and for additional review and discussion. And then finally, our working with AI feature. This is something that we're really excited to be able to present. It brings essentially an interactive AI window into the platform, and we can pass predefined templates and variables through that in real time, and again, get responses from the AI based on the individual record that we're looking at. So I hope to be able to, get through as many of these things as we can in the time that we have allotted. And as always, keep the questions coming through and we'll address them at the end. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Garrett. I'm going to give him a couple of seconds to get his screen share underway, and I'll let him get the show on the road.
Alrighty, folks, I'm hoping you can see my screen now.
All good.
Alrighty, so let's start off by looking at the organization profile. So I'm sure we are all familiar with organization profiles in SmartSimple Cloud and what they are. Of course, we can use fields to collect organizational information and store it here on the organization profile. And we also have the hashtags construct as well, which is a flexible categorization feature and allows us to create categories for organization profiles, user profiles, any records on the fly. And we can also search based off of those categories as well. So here we're looking at an organization profile, of course. But now with SmartSimple Cloud plus AI, we're able to create summaries of an organization and their profile, as well as generate hashtags. And we can do this automatically on a status change. So here, this particular organization is not yet active here. We can see their status is not active. But if I go ahead and activate this particular organization, what this can do is it can pass a prompt to our AI service, and this can provide us with a summary as well as a defined number of hashtags for this particular organization. So these two fields here, the summary as well as the hashtag field that we're looking at, these were just generated there while I was speaking. And these are entirely coming from the AI in this particular case.
I think this is a great use case scenario, Garrett, for the AI itself, in that it presents the information in real time, right? So it pulls information based on just the simplest criteria in that prompt, right? So all we've passed in this particular case is the name of the organization and the address. We've asked the AI then to provide an organizational summary for us. We've also locked it down. So we're using the power of the AI to generate that particular summary, but then we're making the hashtags field itself open and accessible. So the users themselves could potentially provide additional hashtags or modify it. So we're using the AI, but also leveraging all of the existing functionality within the SmartSimple Cloud platform to provide that kind of collaborative approach and that streamlined interaction between the user and the platform.
And information could even be pulled in from an organization's website as well if you include that in the prompt. So these were all generated automatically, and what we can do now is we can actually display these summaries as well as the hashtags in a list view, like this list view we're seeing here, where the summary and the hashtags are columns in this particular list view. And of course, the power of hashtags is that we have the ability to also search by our hashtags here. So here are some of our hashtags that have been added. These have all been added automatically by the AI when we ran these prompts. I can go ahead and search based off of one of these hashtags here, or many, and we can actually quickly narrow down these records to show just the relevant records. So this could also be done on other types of records, not just organization profiles, but we wanted to show this use case today.
And this, of course, plays into stores that data into the hashtag library within the SmartSimple Cloud platform. So these individual elements are all aggregated and counted directly within the library itself. So as the values are entered and as the data is being stored and resolved, those tables are updated on that daily basis when we query the hashtag library itself. So you still have all of the power and reportability of those values within the platform, but the AI is assisting with getting them generated in the first place.
Alrighty, let's look at another use case now, this time on an application. So document generation, of course, is something we can do in SmartSimple Cloud. We could do previously, of course, as well. And we could generate documents via templates, and we could reference variables and fields within a record, of course. But now with Plus AI, what we can do is we're able to create truly unique documents, such as award letters or declination letters, etc. And these can actually be very personalized here. We can use plain English in our prompt to generate these particular letters. So here's an award letter that I'm going to generate here.
And what we've done in this particular case is change the tone of the letter. So we have a hugely positive tone being passed through to this particular award letter. So as Garrett mentioned, we've always been able to pass variables through to a word merge or through to a static template. But what's happening here is that we're taking, again, just that simple prompt of taking the individual's name, the variable references to the organization, getting the AI to generate the full letter. So there's no template here, just a simple 1 or 2 line prompt. And we're adding that positive and enthusiastic tone into the letter as well. Now, the idea here, of course, is that you want to be able to tailor these on a case-by-case basis. So we still have the ability within the platform to modify these letters and these templates so that you can tweak this. Again, it's meant to be a collaborative approach and a tool to assist you in your day-to-day work. So it allows you to build out the letter initially based on what the AI has specified, but of course modify it then to your own particular case.
We also have an example here of a declination letter, so we can see some of the differences in tone between these two documents that are generated by the Plus AI, of course.
And in this particular case, we've gone the opposite. So in this, we are sympathetic to the individual user, that unfortunately they're unable to proceed with the award at this particular time. So again, we've taken the prompt and changed the specific tone of that letter to be more appropriate to this particular case. And Garrett, I don't know if you want to actually flip into configuration mode just to show the simplicity of those prompts. So as Garrett's going in, I'll just set the scene a little bit. We have our HTML template that's just designing the layout of the look and feel of the particular web page view. But we have a simple prompt here. So we're asking OpenAI to write the owner of the grant, their first name and last name, a declination letter, using that positive yet sympathetic tone, declining their grant application. There's nothing else in there. There is no word template. There is no word merge document. That's the full prompt being passed through to the AI.
Alrighty, so let's look at another use case now. So in SmartSimple Cloud, we also often have a module that can be called a meeting manager. It can also be called a board or panel or committee manager as well. It depends on the nomenclature, of course, between systems. And this is used to track review meetings, but also groups of applications, invitations, attendees to these meetings as well. And these are also typically used to generate board books and summaries and agendas. So here I have a meeting manager, and this is a meeting record we're looking at here. You can see the start and end date for this particular meeting. We have applications that are assigned, which we can assign in batch to the meeting. And what we can do is we can also associate a program or funding opportunity to this particular meeting as well and pull that in so we can actually have a look at the eligibility criteria that these applications were created against. And what we can do is using consumer provider, we can pull in information from the applications, like the bodies of the applications here, maybe their average review scores here. And we can then analyze these grant applications via Plus AI as well. So to save the time of actually just loading this prompt here, I have one that I have already generated that I've saved here that's open in this tab. And in this particular example, what we're looking at, the prompt is compiling a document and it's listing the applications from the meeting in order of most likely to receive funding to least likely to receive funding. And it's also including a 100-word summary of the reasons for each score and each application's strengths as well as weaknesses. So it's going through and giving us a nice preliminary screening process here and a nice document to work from when it comes to the actual review meeting itself.
Yeah, I think this is a great use case, Garrett, for some of those efficiencies that can be achieved while leveraging plus AI, right? While also using all of the existing functionality within the platform. So here we're working with the submission manager or the application manager to handle the actual grant application itself. We're looking at the meeting manager, committee manager, panel manager, board book manager to bring all of the organization of those meetings and events together. And then using the consumer provider relationship, pulling all of that information into one centralized location and feeding it through to the AI. The idea here is never to, replace again those reviews or those committees, but it removes some of the burden from the administrative team having to generate this document and these documents. I'm sure having 20, 30 grant applications to review and generate executive summaries for is pretty common for a lot of the people on the call here. So in this particular case, we can take all of those applications together, generate those summaries, generate those rough scores, and provide real-time analysis around the strengths and the weaknesses of those applications as well. So again, just giving everybody back that time that's so valuable to everybody.
In this document, now that we've generated it, it could be passed to the review committee itself for further discussion. What we could do is we could also append the applications to this document as well. And a similar construct could also be used to generate board materials of any kind. So we could sanitize applications if we'd like. We could even perform a preliminary review stage for groups of applications. And it's really just the power of bringing all these applications into one place and passing them to our AI here.
I think others, just while you're moving around, other scenarios, for a lot of these constructs, it lends itself quite well to other vertical markets that we operate in. So things like volunteer engagement and stories, bridging all of those gaps together into one centralized document and one centralized record, stuff that the AI can do very, very well.
Absolutely. So now for our next topic today, we'll be talking about Work with Plus AI feature. And so we are pleased to introduce a new feature to SmartSimple Cloud Plus AI, which allows for real-time interactive experiences for the users here in the platform. And this is SmartSimple Cloud's Work with Plus AI feature. Let's open it up here in the tools menu. We can go ahead and open our Work with Plus AI. And this can be permissioned to be visible only on particular records at certain times for only certain roles as well. So we have that permission ability.
And just while Garrett loads this, I will preface this with this is a sneak preview of this particular feature. It is still in beta, so do keep that in mind. The final look and feel of this particular element may change slightly before it's fully released into the production following upgrade.
Absolutely. So your applicants and your users, they already have access to the internet and language-based AI for collaboration. But what you can do is you can now grant them with the ability to interact with the AI live inside of your SmartSimple Cloud instance. So here we're looking at our Work with AI pane here, our modal window. And we can actually have predefined templates so that your users can quickly reference data within SmartSimple. So here are some examples here. Maybe I want to translate the organization summary into Spanish perhaps. And you'll see that this actually loads with the appropriate variables as a prompt. We can actually set the temperature. This would be a variable here within the OpenAI that allows us to either err on the side of a conservative response or a more creative response here if we go ahead and push that up to 9. Let's go ahead and send this prompt to the AI. And what
this is also taking this, sorry, Garrett, this is also taking the field that we've automatically created previously, right? So at the very start of the presentation, Garrett generated that organizational summary using the AI with the status-based trigger. In this particular case, we're taking that organizational summary as it currently stands within the platform. So we're referencing the variable and then passing the variable itself and the content of that variable through to the AI for translation, which we can see has then been returned. And what Garrett's doing now, what Garrett's doing now is, of course, working with the AI to modify those last prompts. So as the information comes through, we can refine it in real time again. So similar to working with ChatGPT directly, but in this case, we're working with all of this within the platform itself.
And we can interact with the AI in a conversational manner. We can refer back to our previous responses, as you can see here, shorten that response to 50 words, and we can see that we can do that here quite easily. So translations are very, very easy and simple to do here, as well as other prompts or templates, which we can look at as well. So let's open up, let's reopen that so that we can look at some other prompts. We could perhaps compare the organization with the pillars that we have defined for our foundation, and these can be defined within the system so we can reference them anywhere with the AI.
Yeah, so here we've defined a system variable within the platform, and we've said that these are the pillars that support our foundation. So in our scenario here, an initial review of the organization is taking place to see whether or not the organization that's applying aligns with those pillars that we've defined. So we're doing this on the profile, but of course this can happen as part of those screening processes as well. So without having to go and gather all of that information, the AI can go to their website, or based on, again, their name, their address, and other information that's accessible, and provide a general overview and a yes or a no, or a general alignment of that organization with the pillars that we've defined. I think it's quite good as well in this particular case. It provides feedback on the specific pillars that the organization aligns with or doesn't align with, right? We have alignment on certain pillars, but not others towards the end. I think there's some actual feedback there that's relative as well.
It can be used to generate hashtags as well. Let's look at some more use cases. So we can go into another UTA or module we have in the system, our program manager, where we're defining our different funding opportunities and the eligibility requirements for those. And we can similarly open up our work with Plus AI here, and we could generate perhaps a program summary and eligibility based off of just some brief information that we've provided into a field. Let's go ahead and send that as well.
So I think what this really shows is that although we've talked about the supported application process, the AI tool itself isn't simply beneficial to applicant users, although that's one case. It can actually assist with every part of the business. Anywhere that text needs to be generated or returned, the AI can assist with those different scenarios. So here, from an internal point of view, we're generating the eligibility criteria, the narrative associated with the program description as well. So again, we can take this, we can work with it in other areas and refine it. So if Garrett was even to ask, maybe we didn't like the general alignment here, we can prompt this in a conversational tone to rewrite the above or try again. And it will provide, again, additional information or additional context on that. So you can keep working with the AI to pass and refine the above, the previously returned prompts and responses to better align with what you're trying to achieve, right? Which again is quite a useful feature and function.
All right. I also have an example here in this system. So let's go ahead and open up this particular application, and we can also, once again, open up our pane here. And what we can do is we can actually compare the budget and see if the budget is going to be effective for this particular application.
So what we've done here for anybody on the call that's familiar with advanced data tables and the XML tables that we have in the platform, we're resolving the variable itself. So that's why we're seeing a huge amount of HTML text at the top of the screen, because these are the values that are actually stored into the underlying database cell for that XML table. So what we're doing with the variable reference here in the template is we're just taking the HTML reference that we would use to display it on the screen. We're passing that through to the AI and asking it to compare it against the requested amount on the grant application. So I configured this particular example to exceed the amount of the request. So we've $84,000. but we're only looking for 50. So we're, it seems to be ineffective as the expenses are greater, right? But the revenue seems to be sufficient. So there are ways that we can actually analyze and review the data within an XML that previously was a little bit more difficult to work with within SmartSimple. And Garrett, I don't know if you want to show the particular prompt for that, or in the templates if we're going down that road a little bit later. But just to show again, like this is simple language-based prompts. We're not looking at, although we're passing the XML or the variable reference in there, it's a simple language-based prompt to analyze it. And here what we've done is we've looked at the makeup. So we've asked the organization to provide a makeup of their board, senior staff, and day-to-day staff, and demographics makeup of those of that organization. So again, we can take the values from the XML table and compare them with general DEI or diversity best practices. So it's giving us general feedback on the diversity based on what's being entered into that table. And although Garrett's looking at summarizing this, it can also actually provide suggestions on how to improve these things. So, again, based on the prompts, the organization can, how could we improve our DEI or our demographics makeup, or what policies could be better implemented to improve our equitability within the organization. So, again, potential, huge number of potential use cases. Garrett, did you want to show the AI templates themselves and how they're created?
Sure thing. So we're going to go into the module itself. If we're going to be adding a template to an organization or a user profile, we would go into the global settings. But all we have to do is just head to the tab that represents that level entity. So in this case, I'm looking at the application in the application manager, which is the level 1 here. And you'll see we have this link AI where we can configure our plus AI settings and templates for the application in this case. If I go ahead and open that up, first we'll have our general permissions. So these are, of course, the permissions for who can access the work with AI or plus AI, feature here on this record type. So you can define the roles, perhaps only certain types will have this particular feature available, or only in particular statuses will this feature be available. And then what we can also do is we can include custom instructions if we'd like. So for perhaps external users that may be using this, we could include instructions so that they can better understand how to use this particular tool. And from here, we can create our individual templates. So here's an example, translating one into French here, or summarizing the application, maybe providing a background of the organization. Let's go ahead and edit one of these. Of course, we would add them with the plus button. We just give it a name, a caption, and then the template here is our prompt that we'll be passing. And we can include our variables within the prompt, and they will be resolved whenever we actually pull up this template with the dropdown. And on each template, we also have our unique permissions and availabilities for that template. So who can access this particular template? On what types of records will this template be accessible? As well as the status or the point in time that the record needs to be in to have this template be available.
Yeah, these kind of settings, again, just working with the existing functionality within the platform and the really granular permissions that we have allows you to get really specific with who can use the feature and function and when they can use it as well. So you can define different templates for different grant application types. You can define different templates for different user types as well. So you can have reviewers have some supports. You can have your applicants have some supports, and then even your own internal staff members and colleagues can have some supports as well. So it is a really powerful tool. And we really look forward to getting some feedback and seeing how clients want to use it.
So this is just a quick summary of our current use cases with the integration, but of course there are more to come. So thanks. I'm going to stop my share now.
Perfect. Thanks, Garrett.
Sure thing.
So folks, coming to the end of the presentation this morning, it's a little bit shorter than our last one. Just to reiterate the availability and the pricing of the Plus AI integration. It is available in the current release, so you can start working with Plus AI using the AI prompts. So not the working with AI, but referencing the AI in web page views and other fields and other areas of the platform right now. It is available in the current release. The Plus with AI, as I said, is a beta function, so it is still a work in progress. And keep an eye out for some final tweaks to that over the next couple of weeks. To proceed with the integration, you do need a subscription to the OpenAI service itself. And those elements, the pricing and the billing related to that, would be left up to OpenAI themselves. You also then need the subscription to the Plus AI service from SmartSimple. And that's currently priced at 20% of your combined annual subscription fees, but we are waiving the first 4 months of the annual subscription so that users can get up to speed with it, get some general feedback, and get used to using the function itself. If you do want to proceed with getting the ball rolling and get working with the AI, you can reach out to the platform solutions team or to your own account manager for any additional questions that you might have. So I know we have a huge amount of time left. Happy to take any questions that anybody on the call may have. Again, really appreciate the time that everybody's taken out of their day today to spend with us. We're really excited to see what people want to use the AI for and how they want to use it. So, any questions, comments, feedback, good, bad, or indifferent, general suggestions. If you don't have time to submit them through to the chat today, you can always reach out to the platform solutions team here. Garrett, any final thoughts from yourself? What you've learned with working with the AI, or any kind of challenges that you face? I know for me, what I found to be the trickiest was just to get working with the prompts themselves. So there was a good bit of trial and error and general back and forth and tweaking of the prompts before we were getting consistent and reliable results.
Absolutely, I would agree with that. The quality of the prompts is definitely the most imperative item to be addressing. And of course, the more specific you can get with the fonts, the more specific the output. Of course, we also have that temperature value that we can define per prompt that will perhaps create a response that's a bit more creative or a bit more conservative. So also tweaking that value as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those are great points. And it looks like, folks, we've no questions. Oh, we've one come through. A great question there from an individual. Will the AI generate any privacy concerns? In another word, any data from SmartSimple Cloud will be sent to OpenAI. So in this particular case, yes, the data from SmartSimple is being passed through the API to OpenAI. Now, OpenAI does not use any data passed through the API for developing their own language models. That's the policy that they have advertised on their website. So as of, it was the 1st of March, any data passed through the API to OpenAI service isn't used for data modeling on the OpenAI side. That being said, they do keep the data for 30 days for monitoring and abuse and those kind of things. So if there are any concerns from clients in particular, you may want to be considerate of those before implementing the plan. So the data is, of course, passed there. That being said, we have built the integration with other AI models in mind. So clients can bring their own AI models to us, and we can integrate with those and use those for referencing and learning without having to go out to OpenAPI. Or OpenAI. And we're also aware that the likes of Google will be bringing their own Bard AI tool further down the line. So we have future-proofed the integration to be able to work with that as well. I think that's a general question that clients who use the platform and any integrations themselves, just to be conscious of the data being passed through those third parties, right? So similar to a digital signature provider, for example, the information still leaves the cloud platform and comes back in. So just to keep those kind of things in mind. We'll do one more final call for questions. Great. I think we'll leave it as is. Garrett, thanks very much for joining me on our second webinar presentation for Plus AI. Everybody on the line, thanks for taking the time out of your day for joining us as well. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and watch this space. We'll be back with more updates shortly.